first thing I like to talk about whenever I get to talking about risk is just the identification of what is risk, because I think a lot of people have the wrong idea of what risk is. And so just to kind of to illustrate this, Mark, let me put you on the spot real quick, if you don't mind, and just to ask you a question is, what is the greater risk? $1 to get a lottery ticket or $1,000 on black at the roulette table?
Well, my quick answer is $1,000 on black.
Okay. And although I'm sure most people probably would agree with that, I am going to actually say that that's incorrect. I would say that the higher risk activity, no question, is playing the lottery for $1. The reason being that at least with $1,000 on black, you've got a roughly, more or less anyway, a 50-50 chance of winning. It's not really 50-50 because of how roulette works, but it's certainly a whole lot better than 1 in however many hundreds of millions that you've got with the lottery, right? So the how risky is it is how likely are you to win whatever it is you're risking. Now, the amount of risk, now we're talking about $1 versus $1,000. It's how much is at risk. And that's a different question altogether. And then in that question, no doubt at all, $1,000 is more at risk than $1, obviously. But the higher risk activity is actually playing the lottery for $1 because your likelihood of winning is so low. So that's something to really consider anytime you're thinking about a campaign you're going to kick off or something you're going to embark on is, what is the likelihood of success here? Now, of course, there's no real way to know that up front with much certainty unless you've got a lot of experience. If you've been doing this a long time, you can start to get a feel for, I know that probably 1 in every 4 campaigns I put up is going to succeed, something like that. Everyone's different. Some people have higher hit rates than others. But especially when you're starting out, you really can't know that with much mathematical certainty anyway. But it's still definitely a valuable question to present. And here's a little spreadsheet that I just literally whipped up 5 minutes before I jumped on the call here. And it's just a quick and dirty way to illustrate kind of the way I think about risk and risk management. The reason why I think this is so important, by the way, is I hear a lot of the time, I get, obviously I get emails from people all the time, asking for my advice and input on whatever it is they got going on. And most of the time, I think more often than anything else, it's, I've been trying this affiliate marketing thing or this internet marketing thing for X number of months or sometimes even years, and I have spent X thousands of dollars on Y hundreds of campaigns and just can't get anything profitable and so on and so forth. That's a very common tale that I hear. And a lot of the time when I dig a little deeper and ask some questions, I find that they will spend $500 on a campaign or $1,000 on a campaign and it doesn't work out. And my response is always something along the lines of, that should never happen, because well before you've spent $500 or $1,000 or heck even probably $100, whether or not it's sort of working or not, showing signs of life or not. But the question becomes, how do you determine up front, ahead of time, how do you know where the cutoff points are? How do you know how much to spend, how much to bid on a keyword, what makes sense, what doesn't? How do you know when to call it quits or not? There's all these unknowns. And what I see a lot of people do, and I've done it before too, I mean, I've absolutely been guilty of this, is I'll see people who just run a campaign and they basically throw all their keywords into the campaign. And maybe they, break up the ad groups and all that sort of thing, whatever, if they're doing PPC. But basically, they throw everything at the campaign and then just turn it on and cross their fingers. And essentially, the way I look at that is that's playing roulette. It's taking a bunch of chips, throwing them down on various numbers, and crossing your fingers while the ball goes round and round. And that's not business. That's hoping you'll get lucky. And you can get lucky, don't get me wrong. There definitely are stories of that. I've had occasional fits of complete luck as well. The problem with luck is that we have a tendency to attribute it to skill somehow. I see this all the time, and I'm sure everybody has experienced this at some point where you get lucky on something. You think, oh, wow, well, that was exactly what I planned to happen, so it must have been, must have been deliberate. I must have known what I was doing.
Hey, John, I'm going to come out with an ebook, How to Achieve Occasional Fits of Luck.
There you go. And if honestly, the funny thing is, there's something to that, because I once heard many years ago, I heard somebody doing an interview on a radio station, and they were talking about luck management. And I thought, luck management, that's a strange concept. But the more he sort of talked about his point behind this luck management thing, the more I thought, that makes a lot of sense. And his basic point was, everybody's going to get lucky every now and then. What really makes a difference between those who really succeed and those who don't is what do they do to manage that luck when it strikes. So it was like the stories of the lottery winners who you probably most of you have heard before that I forget what the statistic is, but it's some horrible percentage of lottery winners end up dead broke again within like a year or something like that. It's crazy.
Also like that the Chinese character, the symbol for opportunity, right?
Oh yeah?
Is a crisis or something?
Oh, is it really? I didn't know that. Yeah, I would say that that makes a lot of sense as well. So it really comes down to recognizing that luck is going to play a factor in all of our lives, no question. But how you manage that luck when it happens is what's going to make the difference. And so there is some of that here. Certainly, you will occasionally have a campaign that just out of the blue just does really well. The thing to avoid is then saying, oh, well, I must have known what I was doing, and then blowing all the money you made trying to replicate that luck and failing. And I've certainly done that. Probably a lot of you have as well. But anyway, the concept I want to talk about now is sort of a take on something, again, came from trading. And if any of you have ever heard of this concept before, you'll probably know where I'm going with this. But it's called position sizing. And the basic idea, I learned of this from a fellow by the name of Van Tharp. He teaches trading. He teaches trading psychology, trading strategy, things of that nature. But he talks a lot about this thing called position sizing. And the basic idea is that a number of things going into any trade about yourself and the trade and your bankroll and all these kinds of things. You kind of know those things. So given those sets of inputs, you can kind of come up with a formula that says how big of a position, or in other words, how many shares, how many options, how many contracts, whatever, should I or can I trade in order so that I don't go broke. And this is the fundamental thing that I really picked up from studying Van Tharp's work, as well as some other people in the trading psychology world, is that there's an old saying in trading that you never go broke trading. You never get, take that again, you never go broke taking profits. And the basic idea, of course, is that when you've got some profits on the table, take them off the table, put them in your pocket. It's the quit while you're ahead mentality. Although you don't necessarily have to quit, just make sure that you retrieve your capital so that you're safe. And even if the rest goes away, your original capital is preserved. So the idea is never to completely lose. And the concept that really hit home for me, again, in trading, but I think this really relates to any kind of online marketing as well, is that there's effectively only 4 possibilities in any trade. Okay? And in fact, since I've got Excel here, let me just actually type these up. You've got 4 possible outcomes. You can have a small win. You can have a small loss. You can have a big win. You can have a big loss. Now, obviously, we don't want this. We do not want the big loss. So the key thing is to make certain that never happens. All right? As long as we eliminate the possibility of the big loss ever happening, then all that leaves us is